Words of Sri Aurobindo. Categories of love. I suppose love expresses something more intense than goodwill, which can include mere liking or affection. But whether love or goodwill, the human feeling is always either based on or strongly mixed with ego. That is why it cannot be pure. It is said in the Upanishad, one does not love the wife for the sake of the wife or the child or friend, etc., as the case may be, but for one's self's sake one loves the wife. There is usually a hope of a return, of benefit or advantage of some kind, or of certain pleasures and gratifications, mental, vital or physical, that the person loved can give. Remove these things and the love very soon sinks, diminishes or disappears or turns into anger, reproach, indifference or even hatred. But there is also an element of habit, something that makes the presence of the person loved a sort of necessity because it has always been there. And this is sometimes so strong that even in spite of entire incompatibility of temper, fierce antagonism, something like hatred, it lasts. And even these gusts of discord are not enough to make the person's part. In other cases, this feeling is more tepid, and after a time one gets accustomed to separation or accepts a substitute. There is again often the element of some kind of spontaneous attraction or affinity, mental, vital or physical, which gives a stronger cohesion to the love. Lastly, there is the highest or deepest kind of love, the psychic element, which comes from the inmost heart and soul, a kind of inner union or self-giving, or at least a seeking for that, a tie or an urge independent of other conditions or elements existing for its own sake and not for any mental, vital or physical pleasure, satisfaction, interest or habit. But usually the psychic element in human love, even where it is present, is so much mixed, overloaded and hidden under the others that it has little chance of fulfilling itself or achieving its own natural purity and fullness. What is called love is therefore sometimes one thing, sometimes another, most often a confused mixture, and it is impossible to give a general answer to the questions you put as to what is meant by love in such and such a case. It depends on the persons and the circumstances. When the love goes towards the divine, there is still this ordinary human element in it. There is the call for a return, and if the return does not seem to come, the love may sink. There is the self-interest, the demand for the divine as a giver of all that the human being wants, and if the demands are not acceded to, abhimana against the divine, loss of faith, loss of fervour, etc., etc. But the true love for the divine is in its fundamental nature not of this kind, but psychic and spiritual. This psychic element is the need of the inmost being for self-giving, love, adoration, union, which can only be fully satisfied by the divine. This spiritual element is the need of the being for contact, merging, union with its own highest and whole self and source of being and consciousness and bliss, the divine. These two are two sides of the same thing. The mind, vital, physical, can be the supports and recipients of this love, but they can be fully that only when they become remoulded in harmony with the psychic and spiritual elements of the being and no longer bring in the lower insistences of the ego.
Satyam Jnanam Jyoti